everyone, hope you're doing well. Today we are looking at the Saab SK60B, which is going to be a new plane which is coming to the game in update 1.103. We saw this in the teaser trailer last week, and I've got to say it is an absolutely beautiful machine, and it has a pretty cool history around it, still being in service today. So basically, in 1959, Saab began development of a new twin-engine jet aircraft. It was intended to serve a wide variety of different roles, so basically a multi-role vehicle, both in civilian and also military use. This led to questions being raised regarding the power plant choice for the new aircraft, which caused delays in the development, but once the decision was made to develop the new aircraft solely for military purposes, the project substantially picked up in momentum. And by 1961, Saab were endorsed by the Swedish Air Force. They sponsored the development of the aircraft, and then the aircraft at the time was known as the Saab 105, and they ordered the production of a prototype in trainer configuration for testing. And then the prototype took to the skies for its maiden flight in June of 1963 and quickly demonstrated excellent handling characteristics, which of course is a big bonus. In 1964, the Swedish Air Force placed an initial order of 130 of the aircraft, once again known as the Saab 105 at the time, and with that order being raised to 150 machines soon after. And the machine received the official designation of the SK60 in Swedish service. And then during the production, the Swedish Air Force also drew conclusions from the experience made by the US forces in the Vietnam War and decided to convert the Saab 105 trainer into a light attack and reconnaissance aircraft. So this meant that this vehicle had 60 machines of its total of the trainer version, which were converted for ground attack missions. And apart from the Swedish Air Force, Austria also ordered a modified multi-role version of the 105 for its Air Force, and both Air Forces still employ them to the present day. So this thing is still used today, with about 190 units of the type being built overall. So this is definitely one of those machines which is seen all over the place. It is one of those which, if you have a look at the Swedish aviation release tree, it is actually talked about in it as one of those soon TM vehicles. But what was interesting about it is in that release tree, it was going to be a premium. And now they've decided, no, this is going to be a standard vehicle in the Swedish rank 5, and that is obviously only a positive because it means that more people are going to have access to this vehicle. Now, because this thing has such a long service life, and because of the fact that when it comes to munitions, the main thing that you have to focus on with it is, what is it going to have as secondary armaments? Because the key thing about the SK60B, it doesn't actually have a primary armament. This thing has no internal cannons. It has nothing really internal at all. What it actually has on it instead is the capabilities of being able to carry a bunch of different sets of ordnance, such as rockets, gun pods, missiles, all of these different things, which is, at least kind of interesting. When it comes to the actual power plant of the vehicle, though, it has two Svenska Flygmotor ABRM9 turbofan engines. These are license-built versions of the Turbo Mecha or Beast. The SK60B will be able to get up to 765 kilometers an hour. So this thing is not going to be, let's call it a fast jet by any means, but what it's going to be is a medium speed strike fighter. That's probably the way I would put it, or it's going to be a mid-speed CAS plane when it comes to the game. So it's going to have a very defined role depending on what you decide to take when it comes to its ordnance, because of the fact that it is all technically secondary armaments, as we call it in the game. It has 6 pylons under the wings, which can carry a variety of things, which you can see in the pictures, ranging from gun pods to missiles to big honkers like you see here, which is going to make it very, very interesting, because I don't know about you, but as a player who's played a lot around the 87BR, I have got very sick of dealing with G91R3s, especially if they are downed. And now we're adding more of that stuff into the game, so we'll see if it's better to actually have every nation have this stuff, or if it's just a G91R3 thing. The main thing, actually, over the last year or so, the Scimitar was added with the ability to be able to carry AGMs. Then you also have the FJ4B and a bunch of other American vehicles. I believe the Étendard also has the ability to do so, and so is the Saab SK60B when it comes into the game. So with these massive hard points on it, you can see that it can carry these huge missiles, and then on top of that as well, you can see here the set of 6 hard points and how it will set off. One of the things that is interesting for the machine, I don't know how useful it's going to be, but it does have a really low stall speed. It's 170 kilometers an hour. This might mean that you can get a lot of people to overshoot and then try and brap them if you decide to take the cannon pods, because this thing can carry 30mm cannon pods. So it's going to be able to pack a punch, at least, with the cannon pods, even though they're absolutely huge. And it's going to be able to take a bunch of rockets of various calibers and also a pair of guided air-to-surface missiles as well. So it ain't going to be able to carry something as much as the G91R3 with its 4 Nords, or the FJ4B VMF, or the Scimitar, but it's still going to be pretty powerful, and also probably at a lower BR, if we're quite honest. So this might just be a guaranteed one hit, one kill with this machine, meaning that it can trade 2 for 0 or 2 for 1 in a ground battle, which is really nice. I don't know how this thing fits in when it comes to aerialistic, especially since its flight characteristics don't seem to be great, and it's going to be hampered a lot by the secondary armaments that you decide to choose. So maybe grinding it might be a bit of a problem, getting all of those modifications, but since this is only going to be a rank 5 and not a rank 6, at least it will be a lot cheaper to be able to get than some of the other vehicles. And the fact it's in the tech tree is just wonderful. The fact that this thing is going to be available for all players on the outset of the next update is great, especially since we were told many times that it was going to be a premium. Now that has changed, and that is only a positive thing. One thing I will say is when it comes to Sweden, I've had a lot of fun when it comes to their ground tech tree and their aviation tech tree. It has so many nice things in it. The Swedish have all the J21s, the J22s, the J29s are a little bit weird. They're like fat sabers. The A32s are really good and really interesting. And then you have all of the other planes as well, the T18, the B18. Pretty much the whole of the Swedish aviation tree is interesting and fun to play, even if there aren't a ton of different machines with different playstyles there. But this thing is definitely a machine which has a very, very different playstyle to what we have seen before, with a very specific role in the game. So I'm very happy to see that. I'm very happy that we have a vehicle which is slightly different to the others, which are generally just out and out fighters. We also have stuff like the A21, which has centrally mounted rockets which work incredibly well in ground forces, but having the ability to have a vehicle which can just pinpoint annihilate 2 targets on the ground is going to be a wonderful, wonderful thing for Sweden, which does lack a little bit when it comes to CAS, but not in a huge way. But at the BR that this thing is going to be coming out at, it definitely does, because mostly all it has is rockets, which seem, at least when I use them, to not exactly be accurate compared to other stuff. You have to get very close in order to be able to annihilate them. The main issue with this, though, is the fact that you are probably going to have it stock with only the gun pods. So trying to grind this out is going to be a bit of a pain because of the fact that you're going to be heavy, you're going to be slow, your handling's probably not going to be great, and at the same time you can't really just ground pound because you are so slow. You'll get caught very quickly and just annihilated. The other thing is there is no mention of bombs here, there is no mention of other systems, because this aircraft spans so much of the military history of the 21st century, I thought, and also the 20th century, I thought that it would maybe get more ordnance options, and maybe it will. We just haven't seen them yet. But just rockets and a few missiles and some gun pods, I feel like it should get a little bit more, maybe some bombs, maybe some guided munitions, maybe some, or more guided munitions, maybe some other ideas which which, we could see in the game. Because, well, this is a dedicated aircraft in that sense. It would be nice if this was used as a test bed for some of those ideas, especially since I don't think this vehicle will be overpowered or will be underpowered. I think it will fit just right where it is. It doesn't have too much power when it comes to the ASMs. It doesn't have 4 of them. It isn't able to trade crazy effectively, and it also can't dogfight afterwards because it literally has no cannons. So yeah, a very interesting vehicle. I'm incredibly happy to see it, and hopefully this doesn't open the door to stuff like the Buccaneer, though. The Buccaneer can stay hidden. We don't need that thing, or the Sea Vixen, that can stay over there too. Instead, we need the Bolton Paul Defiant, definitely, and also stuff like the Whitley. Anyway, I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank Trigger Hippie, Universe, Conte Baraka, Elove Goat, Eugens Terry, Ambrosius McClellan, Daniel Stanton, Martinez, B. Young, Hans, and Samuel Slick for supporting the channel.